You ever just sit down, relax, turn on your computer, go online, open an incognito browser and just want to watch some good old hentai? And you're getting in the mood. The plot isn't that weird, the girl is pretty hot and the animation is really good. And then out of nowhere, this abomination comes out of nowhere, ruining everything. Well, like it or not, you have encountered the infamous ugly bastard, named that way because he's, well...
one ugly bastard.
Though for the people that only heard of hentai and never watched it, let me explain what an ugly bastard is. As if the name didn't explain enough. Ugly bastards are in anime and hentai older, mostly obese and gross looking men that are interested in younger or at least pretty looking women. The term ugly bastard is mostly used in the Western anime community. In Japan it is of course less notorious, but they still have a term for it. Onko mob or mobu oji. With mob just being a term to denote a background character, or at least a character that isn't part of the main cast, and oji or unko is more of a term used for random older men that don't even have to be related to you. And in hentai, a lot of the male characters are basically background characters since they lack names and even sometimes facial features and just go by their body type and dick size. But this is just raising the question, who even watches ugly bastards? And where do they come from? Well, the origins are quite difficult to find, since I have found art dating all the way back to the 17th century on erotic ukiyo-es, also known as shungas, where older or uglier men are shown to have sex with younger and beautiful girls. A fun fact about the old Japanese art, aside from ugly bastards, shungas have also several art pieces depicting tentacle porn, but that might be a story for another time. But going back into the Japanese past does not seem to yield any results, since shungas are known as one of the oldest erotic art pieces in Japan, and if it was already on there, it is very difficult to find anyone that can relate or tell us why it was on there. But maybe it isn't the past that we should look into, but the people themselves. Since I doubt that the only reason ugly bastards still pop up into adult video content isn't just out of tradition. In Japan, the term bosusen is used for people that are into ugly people, and is used often enough that psychologists have conducted studies on the term. One such study tells us that people attracted to ugly people can come from different sources. Traumas in the past when dating people they thought were attractive going awry and caused such damage that they rather not just risk it with hot people. Or they have heard tales of how risky beautiful women are because those pretty women have experience with rejecting men and wrapping them around their finger. This might come down to the previous mentioned trauma, but might also come from a depiction of beautiful women in Japanese media. There's also people that think it's easier to get with ugly people, it either being a compromise since they can't get a hot person, or they think it's easier to control uglier people since they don't have much experience with the other sex. Or simply enough, they don't care about looks. But here's the paradox. If you don't care about looks, why go for only ugly people? Most likely it's one of the above mentioned reasons, and those are some toxic ass reasons, let's be honest here. They're also mostly written from the male perspective talking about ugly women. But the research is gender neutral though. And while this research seems to answer the question why do people like ugly bastards, but when you look closer to it, it actually doesn't. The problem comes from the fact that these people see the other side as ugly and just making mental compromises as to why that isn't a bad thing. They aren't looking at ugly characteristics and thinking they are hot. So even though the Japanese people think that bosusen are the ones that are enjoying ugly bastard hentai, I don't think that's entirely the case. But maybe I'm looking at the wrong place. Maybe it isn't just Japanese. When I was younger, one of the most famous Western porn stars was Ron Jeremy, who before Johnny Sins was the male face of the porn industry. And if you look at him, he's an ugly bastard. Sure, he wasn't always, but when AVN, one of the biggest adult video magazines, named him the #1 porn star of all time in 2001, when he was well into his ugly bastard years, it will give you a bit more insight with how popular this guy was and how ugly he was at that time. But there must be a reason behind his popularity. And the reason we kinda got in this research paper, Gender and Sexuality in the European Media, uses data gathered from a Finnish TV series called Jenny Plus. When doing research on the habits of watching porn, they found recurring mention of people showing enjoyment to contrast. So older, heavier, taller and uglier men being with skinnier, shorter, younger and prettier women being very arousing. This research found that this bias to the juxtaposing of sexes is not only appetizing to the male side, but equally as exciting for the female watchers of porn as well. Relations of control connected to age were described as titulating, with respondents repetitively associated age differences with the dynamics of domination and submission, which kind of fits with Ugly Bastards, since it's one hell of a juxtaposition between the ugly drawn man and the cute and beautiful drawn woman. And most of the time, the ugly bastard is forcing himself upon the woman in hentai. So from the looks of it, ugly bastards are the thing because we enjoy it. Somehow seeing ugly bastards as enticing. And people might be very open and public about their disdain of the genre, but the numbers don't lie. People watch it, hence why it's being made. And when people watch it, you'll be damn sure the people are enjoying themselves. Well, I hope you learned something today, and if you did, hit the like button or else I'll send an ugly bastard over to your house. I'm the Urcoin, and thank you for watching.